1 month in my exam, I booked a personal class, a one-on-one class with one of their coaches. So we had about 3 to 4 hours each day together. We would go over systems, questions. I would recommend this, but it is not compulsory. If you don't have to do it, don't do it. If you don't have the money for it, don't do it. Why I did this was because I just didn't want to fail again. I just didn't want to fail again. And hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you for stopping by. Today we're going to be talking about something interesting, something a lot of you have been asking me, both on TikTok, on YouTube, on Instagram. I'm going to answer that question today. That question is, how did I prepare for my Nclex? All right, so let's dive into this video and I'm going to tell you every single thing you need to know. As most of my loyal subscribers know, I failed the Nclex the first time I took the Nclex. So if you want to be part of my loyal subscribers, subscribe now. Thank you. All right. So I did fail the Nclex the first time I took it in March of 2022. I failed the Nclex. Now, these are some of the things that made me fail the Nclex. Basically, I wasn't prepared enough. I didn't read. I focused all my energy on the entire process, the CGFNS, the T-bond, getting my fingerprints done, making sure everything was right for me to get my ATT, that I neglected reading. I neglected studying for the exam. When the day of the exam came, I was completely blindsided, honestly. When I went into the hall, I didn't even know what they were asking. I took the entire 145 questions and I failed. Coming out there from the hall, I told my friend who had escorted me to the place in London, I was like, I think I failed this exam. But he was like, don't worry, let's see how it goes. That night, I checked. I did the trick, the Pearson View trick. I knew, they try to remove the money from the account, and I knew I didn't pass. And later that night, they uploaded it on the Texas Board of Nursing account, saying I needed to retest. So they were like, retest application. I knew I failed. Now, I didn't receive any CPR. Texas Board of Nursing they don't give the candidate report anymore to see one that will show you almost below pass line, above pass line, all those things like that. No, I didn't get that. I didn't even bother myself about that. Now, when I failed, I gave myself a whole day to grieve my failure. I gave myself a whole day. I cried it out. I was sad. I was sulky. I was in the bed. I didn't want to go out or do anything, right? I gave myself a whole day to let it out of my system, right? And the very next day, I decided to okay, what do I have to do now to take the exam again? What can I do at this point? My story is very interesting because I told my friend I was going to stay for a week in his house and then move out and then go back to Nigeria, right? But I failed. So now I had two options. Either go back to Nigeria and then come back to the UK, or stay in the UK and read and write the exam. For my job, I had requested for a 1 month leave, which they had given me already. And I was like, okay, plan. So the first thing for me was to go back to Nigeria. I got to the airport and they told me, oh, you needed a COVID test for you to be able to travel back to Nigeria. I was like, okay, during the COVID season, it was still dying off. And Nigeria, you didn't need a COVID test to come to the UK, but you needed a COVID test to go back to Nigeria at the time. I took the test and it came out positive. I was like, I think God is speaking to me to stay back. It came out positive and I was so surprised because I wasn't going out. I wasn't going anywhere. I didn't go out of my friend's house. The only time I went out was to go take the exam and come back. So I'm like, where did I get COVID from, right? Then one of our family friends who lives in the US called me. I was like, how was your exam? I was like, point and plain, I failed. I didn't pass the exam and I'm planning on going back to Nigeria. He was like, why? How many months visa did they give you? I said 6 months. So it was going to expire in August of 2022. And he goes, then you need 45 days to retake the Nclex. So they give you 45 days. After 45 days, you can retake it immediately after the 45 days, or you can take it 2 months, 3 months after that. It doesn't matter, but you needed 45 days before you are able to schedule for the exam again. And he said, why don't you stay back and read? Like, why are you going back to Nigeria and then come back again? I was like, that's true. So that night, I called my parents. We sat down. We did the calculation, the cost, how much it would cost me to come back to Nigeria and then come back to the US. And remember, if you have been on my channel for a while, you remember when I said somebody borrowed us 400,000 naira for the flight, and we had 6 months to pay the person back. So parents were like, are you sure I think staying back right now looks like the best option. So the moment we agreed that I was going to stay back, the next thing I did was to check what I needed to do to take the Nclex again. Mind you, my T-bond and my CGFNS were still valid. They were not expired, so I didn't need to do any verification again. All I needed to do was to pay for another application fee, which was $75 to the Texas Board of Nursing. So you fail the Nclex, you just pay a retest, not the initial application. Now you pay for a retest application, and that's $75. Once you do that, and then you pay another $200 for your exam. That's the PSMU $200. And once you've done these two, then they issue you your ATT. They gave me my ATT like immediately, like it was that fast. But the ATT now was now valid from after the 45 days. It was a 6 months validity ATT that I was given. And once I got that, I knew that, okay, now I have this time to take the Nclex again. So the next thing was, where am I going to stay? Where was I going to stay? I called up some people, some friends and family. We found someone, and we found one of my seniors, or somebody who I went to nursing school with, but she was like a year above mine, and she was in the UK. And she was like, she assured that she can accommodate me for like a month. She ended up accommodating me for like 6 to 7 weeks, and never for once made me feel uncomfortable. She's amazing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you, Chisom. And then my friend, I told you that I had amazing friends. God bless them for me. So my friend gave me his Apple iPad for my study. He said I could take the iPad. He wasn't using it to do anything. So I took the iPad to Kendal, from London to Kendal in the UK. I stayed in Kendal for 7 weeks, right? So what are the things that I did to ensure that I didn't fail the Nclex the second time? Now, number one thing was studying. Oh my God, I studied like hell. I would wake up at 7 a.m. and I would go to sleep at 2 a.m. Now, let me explain what my schedule was like in this period. At 7 a.m., I joined NSSPD, that is Pastor Jerry Eze prayer. I joined it till 9, and once prayer is done, it's over at 9 a.m. I close up that part and I start. The first thing I do is I do 50 questions on UWord. I do 50 questions on UWord. What I started doing was, once I get to question 25, I take a 5 minutes break. Now, it could be 5 minutes pressing my phone, 5 minutes doing something, but I took a 5 minutes break. And after the 5 minutes break, I come back and I start again and I complete it. When I'm done with the 50 questions, I take my time to review those questions. What did I fail? What were the answers to those questions that I failed? And then I go into search point classes. I did the search point class, the search point academy. I did the beginners class 1 and the basic class together. So I was taking 2 classes at once. It was very hectic. The classes are 2 different classes entirely. The beginners classes, they're teaching you the basics, ABGs, like they go down to the basics, like to the root of what you need to know about the Nclex. So the search point classes are content classes. The beginners class mostly, it's a content. They make you understand the content of the Nclex. What are they likely to ask you? What are the questions they're asking you? These are basic things that you know from nursing school, right? But they are asking you these questions. They're teaching you these things so that you understand from the Nclex point of view, because the Nclex and the exams we take back home in Nigeria or in other parts of the world are not the same. It's not the same testing system. So you need to understand the strategies behind the Nclex. Each class has daily tests that they do. So they do daily tests. I take my daily tests. I review my answers as well. And I was just trying to like combine both classes. So here are like the classes I took and the scores that I got at the end of each classes. I was striving to be the best in the class. I wasn't, but yeah. The beautiful thing about Searchpoint Academy is that if you want to retake these classes, if you feel like you didn't do well, or at the end of the test, at the end of the month, and they look at your scores and they review it and they say, okay, you need to do another class, please go ahead. Well, I know you want to take the Nclex, but it's better that you take the Nclex when you are well prepared than for you to fail and then take it again. Take it from somebody who has failed and took it again. Okay, 1 month to my exam, around April 20th. At this time, I was done with one section of one basic class and beginner class 1, right? So I moved to the next class. I did a beginner's class 2 and a basic class again. So I took the basic class twice. So the difference between the beginner's class and the basic class is that the basic class focus on questions, how to answer questions answering. They put in U-word questions, they put in questions from Q banks, and you should answer and know why the answer is the answer, basically. So it is very important that you do this, that you know these things. The Nclex is a critical thinking exam, so you want to know why what is what. Why what is the answer? Why is it that this particular question, or why is it that this particular option is that answer? All right. 1 month in my exam, I booked a personal class, a one-on-one class with one of their coaches. So we had about 3 to 4 hours each day together. We would go over systems, questions. I would recommend this, but it is not compulsory. If you don't have to do it, don't do it. If you don't have the money for it, don't do it. Why I did this was because I just didn't want to fail again. I just didn't want to fail again. And they would also test you at the end. They would also test you at the end of the personal one-on-one to say, okay, I think you're ready. I think you should, take 1 more month. I think you should reschedule your exam. So they gauge you to see where exactly you are. I had a very amazing person as my personal coach, and she was amazing. She's down to earth. So I really loved her, and we had like this connection, this vibe immediately. So what she helped me do was help me realize that I knew these things. I shouldn't allow fear make me not to put the right answers where they should be. So if you have money for a personal class, please go for it. If not, do other classes, read, study, and you will get it. So for Searchpoint Academy, it's a monthly thing. It's a 4 weeks class. So after 4 weeks, you either roll over to the next class or you repeat that same class. You can go to their website, their Facebook page, or their Instagram page for more information. Okay, I'm going to put their link in the description. Check them out. All right. Then the second material I use is called U-word. For U-word question bank, it is a question bank basically. So it is a place that has over 2,000 Nclex questions. So you get to answer these questions over and over and over again. When I was studying, I did 50 questions in the morning and I did 50 questions in the night. Towards when my exam was was coming closer, about a month, I started doing 50 questions in the morning, 50 questions in the night, and 50 questions in the afternoon as well. So I would do 150 questions a day. Note, while I was preparing for the Nclex, I wasn't working. Now, if you're working, you'd have to put some things in place, all right? But we'll talk about that in the video, so keep watching. The third thing that I use is Archer question bank. So I would not recommend Archer to be your only question bank. I only used Archer because the way they structure their questions is the way the Nclex is. The Nclex is very vague, and if you use only the U-word to practice, you'd be very surprised when you go into the exam and you see that their questions are not as detailed as the U-word. Their questions are just very vague. They put one sentence and then the question, right? Sometimes the question is just the question. There is no background story. So you would want to use Archer as well to get acclimated to what the Nclex looks like. I also use Simple Nursing. I use Simple Nursing, their YouTube videos mostly, and then in my Searchpoint class, somebody gave me her access. I think it was 2 weeks to my exam. So that was what I used, but mostly I use their YouTube. If you don't have money to pay for it, use their YouTube. Simple Nursing on YouTube is amazing, especially for pharmacology and differentiating different diseases like Cushing syndrome, Addison disease. They give you details, the difference between left-sided and right-sided heart failure. Since you should note out for these are questions that come up in Nclex, so watch their videos as well. And I also use Nclex audios. Nclex is like, we know him from way back, although his classes, those audios are old, so they are so old, but they still have value in them. And the last one would be, I used Nclex IUD, the free Zoom classes. So the classes get filled up so quickly. They hold at 12 a.m. in the morning. So that's why I was awake till 2. So I would be awake 12 a.m. But you have to be in the classes about 15 minutes before the class, because like I said, it's a free Zoom class and it only allows 1,000 people. Before 11:45, the class is filled up. I kid you not. Before 11:45, they open the link at 11:30. So before 11:45, it's filled up. You can't go in because they've reached their max, which is 1,000 people. And at 12 midnight it starts. And then I also listened to their podcast on Spotify, and I watched every single video or every single YouTube video that they had out as well. So what the Nclex IUD did for me was, he showed me how to answer my questions. So I had strategies. I would put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I would read the last part of the questions first to see what they are asking. Then I read the first part of the question to know what they are asking. Then I will start from the least option to see, why is this option the answer or why is it not the answer? I would compare the last option. So if he has like A, B, C, D, I will compare C and D together to say, okay, which one looks like the most correct answer? And I pick one of it and I compare it to the next one, B, and I compare it with A. And that would help me, determine what is the answer and why the other one is not the answer. It looks like a lot to do, but honestly, it's not a lot. It takes a couple of minutes and you are done. I'm telling you. I imbibe that in my practices every day. And he also taught me how to take breaks. In my first Nclex, I didn't take breaks. I sat down there for like an hour and I answered 145 questions without any breaks. And I failed. Now, I'm not saying if you don't take breaks, you will fail. I'm just saying that you need to give yourself time to breathe. You need to give yourself time to come back and listen and read these questions again to make sure that you're understanding what they're asking you, that you're not being too anxious, that you're not being too scared, you're not being too fast. So these are the things that I use to study for the Nclex. Now, what was my personal study guide? I already mentioned that I would start at 7 a.m., but studying started at 9 a.m. for me. So I would study from 9 a.m. to 12. I would do question banks. I would review those question banks. I would take breaks in between. And then I go and do my search point classes, the basic and the beginners classes as well. And once I'm done, we had some classes that clashed with each other. But once I'm done with one, I go into the next one immediately. I did this every single day. And then every Thursday, my friend would say, oh yeah, you've been in this room for a week. Let's go out. So we'd step out for fresh air. Would go to Audi for about 3 to 4 hours. So Thursdays, I don't study like at a stretch. I do take time off to go and, go shopping with her. We'll take pictures, we'll do TikTok videos, we'll laugh, we'll gist a little bit, and then I'll go back to reading. These were the things that I personally did. Another thing again I did was I deleted my Instagram app, not my account. I deleted the app. So I wasn't on Instagram from March to June. I didn't come back to Instagram until I was done with my Nclex. And I passed my Nclex in May. I was off Instagram completely. I was on my WhatsApp. My WhatsApp was only my parents. I was only talking to my parents at the time. Only. That was the only conversation. And I talked to my parents only on Sundays for 1 hour. I did talk to my parents only on Sundays for an hour. I shut out every distractions, right? I shut out every distractions. My friends understood me. I did cut off a lot of things and a lot of people to make sure that I passed this Nclex. And I'm proud that I'm happy that I did that. So you want to like reduce communication. I know that you have friends, you want to go out, you're the life of the party. The truth is that when you pass the Nclex and after you pass the Nclex, the party is still going to be going on. Like you're not late at all. So don't even try to like say, oh, I need to go out, I need to do this more. Fine, yeah, you need to do all those things more. It's nice that you do them, but the Nclex is something that you have to give your time to. And if you don't give your time to it, I'm sorry. You just have to give it your time. A month, 2 months. I've seen people who read for like a month and they went and they smashed the exam. I know somebody who read for 2 weeks only and she went and she smashed the exam. In those 2 weeks, in that 1 month, they gave it undivided attention. I know some people who took leaves like me 1 month, used about 2 to 3 weeks to study for the exam. The last week they went for the exam and came back and they passed. So you need to give it time. You really, really need to give it time. I believe you can do it. You just need to read and do it. So if you're interested in using Searchpoint Academy, I'm going to give you some reasons why you should use them. So I personally use them for my Nclex training and my Nclex preparation. They have a track record. They have an amazing track record. They've helped over 800 nurses pass the Nclex in Nigeria, in Ghana, in the UK, in the US. So they are a wide range of people. They help people in different countries. So it's not just Nigerians alone. All right. I'm going to put their website so you can go to their website and get more information on them and using them. And when you're using them, just let them know that it is me that sent you to them, all right, that you found it through my YouTube channel, and it'll be more than helpful to guide you through the classes that you need to start in and what you need to know. All right, thank you so much for watching. Please do not forget to subscribe, do not forget to like this video, and do not forget to comment. I really do appreciate you guys commenting and liking this video because it helps you to push this video out to other people as well. The reason I started doing YouTube is so that I would give these informations freely. These are the informations that nobody gave them to me. I had to source them out myself. People pay for these informations, right? And I'm giving it out to everybody for free. So please subscribe and like the video. Thank you. Bye.